Fred Thompson Show.
Well, we are delighted to have Senator John McCain with us right now. John, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you,
I'm
Fred
doing
and Jerry?
great.
How are you?
Excellent, sir.
She's doing great. Hard dog to keep under the porch, as you know. But
He just keeps turning my mic down when he doesn't like what I'm saying, John.
she's got control of both volumes here, and so I kind of, as usual, do what I'm told.
Can I open up with something?
Yeah.
Senator McCain, I think so often of the trip that we all took together, you and Cindy and Fred and myself, when we were in the newly democratic countries of Eastern Europe.
Yep.
When I think about President Reagan saying, "Tear down this wall," I think so much of the strength of you and Fred and our folks over there when we were fighting for their freedom. So when Fred told me about your piece today, I was so thrilled that you're going to be on. So thank you for your service to our country in those ways and continuing to recognize that we need to stand up for freedom around the world.
Well, thank you, Jerry and Fred. And I'm getting ready to go over to Johns Hopkins to give a speech on exactly that issue. And the fact is that there's no better day, the day the Berlin Wall fell. And Fred also remembers very well. Jerry, you were much too young, but Fred and I remember the naysayers, the people that said that Reagan was a cowboy, that he never should have said, "Take down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev," should never antagonize him by calling them an evil empire. And people who are still listened to today, honest to God, are the same ones that said that then, that said we shouldn't, that are saying today that we shouldn't stand up for the rights of the demonstrators and the young people who are seeking freedom in Iran and dying in the streets of Tehran and the prisons of that brutal regime. We should be standing up for their rights. We should be telling the Iranians that we expect them to recognize the rights of their people and standing up for these people. And by the way, do you know what they're chanting now in the streets, the demonstrators? Obama, Obama, are you with us or are you with them? Isn't that incredible?
You know, I've got that noted down here, John. I was going to ask you about that. I think they're on signs down there too, and it
in English.
English couldn't put it any more starkly. And the only signs we're hearing about is one or two extremists that they single out of a crowd of 2,000 or 3,000 on Capitol Hill. But we don't see those signs down there, those brave young people, where we've ironically got more friends than we have in most any other country in that nation, in that area.
And the other thing about it, Fred, is if you have democracies, if you have free societies, they're much easier to deal with and achieve America's national security interests than it is negotiating and dealing with oppressive and repressive regimes. Look at the collapse of these talks now with the Iranians, which has turned into it would be comedy if it wasn't so serious, this whole charade that we've been carrying on with them. And by the way, now we're going to wait till the end of the year to see if the Iranians will come to some agreement. And by the way, the Iranians were foolish not to take the deal as it was. They could continue enriching uranium. It just would delay it about a year.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this, I hate to get so upset about this, but we should be standing up for the people that are struggling for human rights, and with our friends too, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, people who are our friends. We should be talking to them too, not just our adversaries.
And of course, it's apparently totally off the table as far as the Chinese are concerned.
Oh yeah. Well, when the Secretary of State, before her first trip to China, said, "We're not going to talk about human rights," what kind of a message does that send to the Tibetans? What kind of message does that send to the Uyghurs? What kind of message does that send to the dissidents who are, despite the Chinese government's efforts to censor them, are making effective use of the Internet?
Or, for that matter, what kind of message does it send? You take it one step further. Does it send to Taiwan?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are equivocating on providing the necessary equipment they need. But by the way, we have not sent any assistance to Georgia since the Russian invasion and occupation of their sovereign territory.
Mm-hmm. John, what we're seeing here is more significant. I know why you're upset about it. That's why I wanted you to talk to our listeners today. what we did in this country was decades of solidarity, Democrats and Republicans, starting with the Harry Truman airlift, I guess, to show that we were not going to abandon our friends and that we had some moral perspective. And culminating with Ronald Reagan's tear down this wall, and now we're turning our back on those decades of common interest in this country.
And bipartisan, as you mentioned, Harry Truman, John F. Kennedy, Scoop Jackson, one of the giants of the Senate. You know, one of the great testimonies was rendered by Nathan Sharansky when Ronald Reagan mentioned his name when he was in the Gulag, the great Jewish resistor. And everybody's, oh no, don't do that. It'll make his treatment harsher. You shouldn't. Anyway, to make a long story short, the Berlin Wall goes down. Nathan Sharansky gets out of prison. He said it was the best thing. It spread like wildfire through the Gulag, and that President Reagan was standing up for
That says it all. That says it all. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your article today in the Financial Times, and keep up the good fight.
Thank you, my dear friends. God bless.
Give us a call.
Okay, pal. Thanks. Bye.
877-973-7338.